It's all right. I apologize on behalf of Sons of Venus for anything I might said offended anyone.
I'll put that in the beginning. Welcome to Post-Burnout.com interviews. My name is Aaron Kavanagh and I'm the website's founder and editor-in-chief. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. Our interviews are mainly recorded to be transcribed, but every now and again we release the audio in a series we call Post-Burnout.com interviews. If you enjoy what we do, be sure to subscribe. In this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, we speak with John, Igor and Ruslan from the New York experimental psych prog project Sons of Venus. We talk about their new album Crisis to Crisis, the formation of the band's atypical approach to songwriting and recording, how each album was recorded differently, how their live sound differs from their studio sound, and more. So, I guess the first thing I'll just ask this simple thing is just how Sons of Venus kind of came to be. I mean, my understanding is that John and Ruslan kind of met at, I think it was the East Village, right?
Correct. Do you know the East Village, Aaron?
I don't. I'm from Dublin, not New York.
Yes. Well, it was more of a popular place back in the day, but yeah, it's like how can I describe it? Maybe like a Piccadilly Circus or something like that. It's an area where a lot of people go to hang out, and me and Ruslan were hanging out, so to speak. Yeah. So, boys, you want to add anything?
I mean,
yeah, that's totally true. That's totally because actually Sally, the one who knows everything about, not the knows, I mean, experienced and lived in this village. Me and Igor, we just lived all over places, little bit by little bit.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of the homeboy. So that's
yes. That's
kind of my neighborhood. I've been called the mayor a couple of times.
So yeah, I mean, so the right to say so. I came to his neighborhood,
but we have Ukrainians everywhere in that neighborhood. We have Kazakhstanians, Russians are all over the neighborhood, so it's their neighborhood too.
like cockroach.
Well,
I'm playing. Is this going to be live, by the way? In the words of Dana Carvey, we can just
Well, what I'm wondering is, so John, when you and Ruslan met, what was the kind of commonalities you guys had? What were you kind of talking about, or?
Yeah, well, I love that question because really, how I would define Sons of Venus is a language. Mm-hmm. We speak Sons of Venus language. The three of us get together. We don't need to discuss anything. We don't need to talk about the day before, the day after. We don't need to do anything but just start doing Sons of Venus. And it's just a conversation just like you and I are having right now. It's literally just like that. So it's like a language. That's why on the new album, we have a track, it's called Dead Languages, because basically it's like something ancient about it. We're connecting on something it's not on the medulla. It's like it's far back in the spinal cord. Like it's just pure heart and feeling. And somehow we transferred, and it's questions and answers that just come through a musical palette that we share. Even though we're three radical different people, we share the language.
In fact, this is the most talking we've done.
I'm assuming, Ruslan, you and Igor, because you were in Mad Meg together, I assume that was the connection then when it came to creating this new project. Would that be correct?
Well, I think there's a lot of
we have a history.
Okay,
we have a history, but I think John is a great teacher. And he teach a lot of us of experience the way to play and listen music. So I think we, besides that, me and Igor played for a while and long time, but I think me and Igor, and we because we learn a lot and find new stuff a lot. We kind of brought it to Mad Meg, I think, too. It's just like as a rhythm section, at least.
Yeah,
Ruslan actually brought me to Mad Meg. If we're talking about that, we were in a band called The Clocks, which eventually John and another guy, they joined. And then when that band kind of broke up, instead of breaking up, we transformed into the Sons of Venus.
Okay.
And so
Because
the
real
lead
music never die, you know. Real
Yeah.
music never die.
we actually we had the band's like this lead singer of the Clocks, he left at the moment when we had a big show coming up, and we just ended up winging it, writing another song during the first rehearsal, and then just kind of improvising our way through the old song structure.
Yeah, this song was on the first album called Hold On.
Hold On.
And I remember that was the first time in my life, maybe John had it, you know, he's the longest who play music. But we just wrote this song like a week ago or 2 weeks before the show.
Yeah.
And the guy just show up after we performed it in the show. He's like, where I can listen to it, where I can find it. Is in iTunes. It was like, we just played like third time. We haven't recorded yet.
we had like this little mini tour with this kind of like this super group named Jelly Jam, and it's like members of Dream Theater, King's X, and a drummer.
Yeah.
The drummer was from the Dixie Dregs, which
right,
was
the Dixie Dregs. That's right, because I forget.
Rod Morgenstein,
Right,
a great
right.
drummer.
Yeah,
In my world, he's much more famous than the other.
I just remember. I remember
The bass player. Everybody knows the bass player.
I got all
The
these
famous
friends.
one. I think the Flea and that guy. The only two famous bass player I know, and so that's why. Yeah, Igor.
I just remember because I have all these guitar player and bass player people who like are huge fans of Dream Theater, and I was showing off with my picture of the that's why like it kind of but yeah, we had those couple of shows, and we ended up improvising, and people were coming up to us and like, where can we listen? And like, nowhere. But yeah, that was we formed out of that, and then it became like this. I think the Sons of Venus generally, it's not like it's an orgasm. It's an organ. Sorry.
It's an
Well,
organism.
if you look at it,
Organism, not an orgasm.
Hey, it's all good today. It's all
Cheers.
good.
Listen.
I remember that rehearsal because I came depressed, and I was in a panic, and like I come to the rehearsal and they're like, that's it, we have to cancel the shows, the band is over. And these two guys will go, no, let's just write a song. And we wrote a song.
Because we've been already playing, and we have this chemistry right in the beginning. So, you know, you can't deny it. It's just like there. And when I think this is the most important, when there's a chemistry, then there's a band exists. And there's no chemistry, then band doesn't exist. So yeah, and like we have a really good chemistry. We feel each other as musicians. Not orgasm thing.
Yeah, the organism. But I was gonna say it's an orgasm that evolves. It's an organism. Like this. I've been in a bunch of bands. Ruslan's been in a bunch of bands. John Sully. I mean, I don't know. He's like a history behind him.
Well, my bunch of bands. It's you. Play a bunch of bands.
Well, I actually, I can credit Ruslan in teaching me how to play the bass on some level. I think on a big level. That's who he just kind of handed it to me. Like, here, take it. No, but I mean, it's in the bunch of bands that I've been, it's like, people, let's write a song. We get together, we write a song. In the Clocks, we jammed too. We jammed a lot. And Mad Mag, we jammed, but it's more like song structure. In Sons of Venus, we just let it all go, I think. And the guys correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't, like John said, we don't discuss it. We basically put on our instruments and we play. Our second album was fully improvised.
Okay.
I mean, we've played, we'll play those songs again sometime, but we only played them.
Well, there is when you kind of listen to the music, there is I think a very sense of no consideration for genre. It's just very much it seems like your music, and correct me if this is wrong, if this wasn't your intent, but for me, the feeling was very much like little odysseys, like little journeys each.
Oh yeah,
Correct. Lit-
yeah. It's cinema. Like we have, there's a lot of things that influence us, and I would say cinema is a big one. So I think that why we're able to follow each other and have that language is because there's pictures in our mind. There's poetry is involved. So what I find with the time period that I played music, young people are so savvy. They know about the music business. They know about hit records. So they're very, very rooted on the ground about the way they're doing music. And they're the first musicians say now it's music business. And that's not us. We're all about poetry. We're more like an older version of what a musician was. It's more about how do you express these things in sound that you would express in some other way with like the stars or the sun and the sky and the ocean. So that's we're thinking in those elements while we're playing. We're not thinking about the audience. We're not thinking about whether this is good or bad. We're not thinking whether this is going to be popular or cool. We're really thinking in these deeper, more mythological archetypes that are, like I said, I keep coming back to the word of ancient, but the band is called Sons of Venus. It's even pre-Christian, in the name. It's like a pagan-esque type thing. And even the album title, Crisis to Crisis, within the title is Isis to Isis. Mm-hmm. So even before paganism, you have the Egyptian that's in there. So there's something very ancient about what we're doing. And I think, I think that's what's in the sound. So that's why when you're saying it bypasses a genre, because what's a genre? We're going to the root, actual vibration, before it's way before genre. So yes, you are correct.
Yeah, I think like I was saying, like that I think like that kind of I was using the term little odyssey, but that's really what it feels like to me. It feels like, I don't know, a really kind of structured journey. It feels like something like Homer or something like that. Does that, like, would you say it's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying that way, because there's a academia between the three of us. Like, we're very much into reading. We're very much into patterns in society. This is things we didn't even know we connected on until the world lost its mind and everything flipped upside down and people went in all different directions. And the three of us only got even closer because we recognized similar patterns. So, music is patterns, right? Poetry is patterns. All these things keep boiling down of where there's something in the cog of the machine of Sons of Venus that we, Igor has one wheel, Ruslan's another wheel, I'm another wheel, and those three wheels just fit together and turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just to add what Jen was saying, breathing is another pattern.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and that's what kind of this music breathes.
Yeah. Do you think it'd be fair to say that compared to, say, other projects that you guys are involved with, do you think this one is a lot more kind of based on instinct then, or that's kind of the impression I'm getting? It's a lot more, I don't know, it's a lot more improvisational almost, but kind of it sort of dictates it. A structure based on, I guess, what you're talking about, a kind of mutual understanding of each other. And but do you think that would be a fair assessment then?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of experience, like, doing jazz music. Jazz music is defined by improvisation, yet I don't know if I would say Sons of Venus is jazz, because the way jazz defines its improvisation, it's based on a harmonic structure. Whether you're in or out of the harmonic structure, it's still based on that harmonic structure. So even though we have harmonic structures in our music, it's not where we're following. Same with the time, whether it's swing or non-swing, whether it's 2 or 3 or 5 or 7, we're not thinking mathematically in time. So it's more the idea of the feeling. How can we match the poetic feeling? Like, more like, how does water move? And that's what, we would come together and say, wow, this feels, very angular or very fluid. So we're working more kind of on poetic structures. But as far as what jazz is doing, where somebody takes the lead, the other two move back to support, and then after that person leads, moves into support, somebody else comes in and leads. We're doing all that just like a jazz band would, same exact way.
Well, it's like capturing the moment. I think that was like from the beginning when this band became. I think we spoke about it. That it's kind of like our motto. We're not trying to write song. We're trying to capture the moment. That moment that is impossible to kind of get in a time capsule. You know, so we capture it, we record it, we move on, we capture the next moment. We try to recreate it, but it's always different. It's always a different moment that we're recreating. We capture that moment, and then we move on to the next moment. We recreate it, you know, and that cycle, that kind of
later on, Sully just do this magic.
Yeah,
magic moments, edit moments. You know,
like what you did, what you're gonna do with my cockroaches.
So
well, that's the beauty of recording, right? Like even in the word record, like reconnect, right? So that's a lot of my editing process. So, you know, I just tell the boys, just play. Don't think, don't worry about it. Just follow your heart 100%. And then, you know, I have a little knack for it where I can go in and there's something about, you know, as a kid, I was very much into graphics and shapes and forms and collages. I used to make my own collages, cutting things out of magazines. So the minute that, you know, that you were able to, whether it was with a razor blade with a tape machine or, you know, digital software, the minute I realized I could make sound collages, that was it. I got very deep into it. And I think I have a knack for it. I can tell, like, we just did a radio edit for one of the songs because our songs tend to go on for a while because, like, we like that breathing, meditative aspect, but we understand for different environments they might be a little bit long. So we were discussing about doing an edit, and they thought I was telling them where I would put the edit, but no, I sent you the file already. It's already done. They're like, when did you do it? I just did it now. I just sent it to you. So I seem to have a knack for it. Yeah.
I used to do collages when I was a kid.
Yeah. I love. I
used to collages. Here's here's the dumb thing about me though. I taped them with like the hardest glue on the walls of my room, and I couldn't get them off when we were moving out of that.
Wow.
I had like Lenin and dead bodies and like women and like, you know, naked women, all this shit on my walls, and then I couldn't get them fucking.
I learned that way at first, but then what I started to do is I would search around if I would see like pieces of wood lying around. And that's how I started to do it on spare pieces of wood, and then I would screw like little hooks in them and hang them up. Yeah.
So I mean, that would be much smarter, but I just cut to the source, I guess.
So you probably still owe money to the landlord, right?
Oh, we paid some. Yeah, this was the first.
He never returned the direct. He never did return deposit.
We paid for that room. It was the place we moved in when we moved to the United States, and we stayed there for like. Speak of the cockroaches, man.
All right, I didn't speak of them. You brought them up.
Yeah, but that was the first place I lived, and I was like, 12.
Just remember, we're talking about music.
Yeah.
It's not any animal channel. There's like no flora fauna thing going on. When different channel, right?
Me and John, we just struck a chord because we both made collages. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Maybe.
But he was saying about music collages.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's this a collage in itself is kind of a same.
No. I got it. I just kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, not.
So do you guys kind of? Sorry, go ahead.
No. So actually, you know, when we were doing Adventures in Caution, and I was trying to make you remember I was trying to make a cover. We ended up somebody else was doing it, but I was trying to I was sending you guys a cover. I photographed one of my old collages, and I was trying to put like the thing on it.
Which one was that? Remind me, I'm forgetting.
It wasn't great. I don't even know if I sent it. It didn't come out, but
just so Aaron knows. Just so Aaron knows, Adventures in Caution is the title of our second record, just so he knows what you're talking about, Igor. All right.
Yeah, sorry.
I did the
Aaron,
research.
thank you for coming to our interview.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, one thing I was going to ask, and so in a way, do you kind of see Sons of Venus in that regard to be somewhat of more of a multimedia project rather than just music? I mean, the fact that you are kind of taking those aspects of everything you learned from other art pieces, as you were talking about, the kind of the structure and the form, from like collage making, for example. Do you in a way see it as an extension of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say, I really consider myself more of an artist. You know, I'm a theater artist. I'm a performance artist. If you look at my background, even now, I have a theater company called Temper Distortion, which is out there, and we're doing installation, sound design pieces, and it's a touring company. It's been all over the world. It's been around for a couple of decades. So you're hitting the nail on the head. Multimedia is definitely it's not just a metaphor. It's actually a part of my career. And then the same with the boys. I mean, they all multi-instrumentals, doing all different kind of creative things with video and solo performances. So I think that's something that brings us together too. We're not your typical like rock and rollers, so to speak. So there is something there. It's kind of that New York thing, right? It's that Andy Warhol factory thing. There's a resonance to that. The place where me and Ruslan met, and then even Igor was there a lot, was called Ideal Glass, which was basically modeled after Andy Warhol's factory. And I was kind of like a artistic director there. So that it had a program of not just music. There were all different types of things going on there. And we participated in all of it. And really the music thing is why it gets a little bit more distilled when the three of us comes together is kind of a mystery. We don't know, we don't question it. This is our third record. We have no idea how we got to the third record. We just keep doing it, and each record we love. And to be honest, we would have had a label out before this, but then COVID happened and just screwed everything up. So when we released this record and a label picked up on it again, we just know something's there. We just know it. So
Radiohead has a song where you end and I begin, right?
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
And then they also have Everyone Can Play Guitar. I think that sums it up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
well, totally. Also they have a song, Everything in Its Right Place.
And
Creep.
So take 4 of those titles. And that's what Sons of Venus.
You do it to yourself.
You do. It's a collage of Radiohead.
Well, that
all right,
puzzle.
We're gonna talk Radiohead language now. Just.
Talking about, you mentioned the new album coming up at the moment. The latest single is "Living in Blood," which is an almost 8-minute kind of, really kind of very, I think very challenging and very kind of, I don't know, very kind of ominous sort of track. I was wondering if maybe you guys could talk about it a little bit.
Oh yeah, I guess I'll start on that because in this particular record, because of COVID and because of the lockdown, I just had a lot of ideas that were coming through, and I played around with the idea of to go into our process a little bit. There's definitely a feeling when the three of us in a room together when we play that's super easy and super automatic, and we just know it. But I wanted to do an experiment since I couldn't be with them. What if I just imagined them there? So I kind of did like an inner thing, and then I did the same thing. I put up the microphones, I grabbed my guitar, I had my pedal board set up, and I just played as if they were right there with me playing. And I did a lot of music, basically the whole record. And I edited it, I sang to it, I laid the keyboards on it, I did the sound design on it, and then I sent it to them, really kind of not really saying much other just sending to them, because if they were like, oh yeah, it's okay, thanks for sending, and if they didn't respond to it in a certain way, I would have just left it at that.
Yeah.
So but both of them responded very similar, like, I would love to play on this. I feel like I could just play right on this, and it feels like this could be our third record. So that was what I was looking for. And then we figured out a way I helped them build their studio so they could lay down their tracks to my tracks, and that's how we built it. So I wanted to say that first because the idea for Living in Blood came to me, but I always had this idea the minute that we got the idea for the name Sons of Venus, and this was a process of us. Everyone was throwing in their 2 cents. So even the name is kind of a collaboration of all of us coming together because we were all throwing ideas. But the minute we had Sons of Venus, something about the SOV, what I like. There's something about it. Even the space, not the letters, the space of the S, the O, and the V, just them alone. There's something in there. Like if you look at the logo that we have in the record, the S almost looks like a music note, And then the O almost looks like a rest, and then the V almost looks like a dynamic. It almost looks like music written out. So I related right away to the graphic image, and I liked it. So that literally right from the second we had the name, the second I thought of SOV, I had a video in mind. And so I went from SOV to CIA to FBI to NSA. And I just had this idea of a video where these letters would just keep coming up. And then inside the letters, you would just see the naughtiness that's going on in the name of these agencies. And I just heard that dong, 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 dong. And then if you hear that's that riff that's going on, which is very triptych, right? It's dong, 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 dong. So all these groups of threes. And then even the guitar that comes after that just goes dan, 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 dan. So it's all these threes that are flying around. The whole track is built on it. And that's why I wanted it to go so long, because I just wanted it to get inside to everybody that why are they all 3 letters? There's something about it, It's like the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, It's like something triptych about it. The beginning, the middle, the end. In music, we have the 1, the 4, the 5, the 2, the 5, the 1. There's all these triptychs. So that's where that song came from. It literally was born right out of the idea of Sons of Venus. The birth of Son of Venus and the birth of that song were kind of one and the same, And it really started from a graphic, visual, cinematic image, before the music.
So again, going back to that kind of multimedia aspect too, where it's like again the kind of the I guess the kind of what would you call it, the kind of paratext, I guess, is kind of influencing the text itself.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something about it. It's if you look at like ancient Hebrew, right? The letters are numbers, right? So that's totally what Living in Blood is. It's the letters and the numbers they're the same. They're doing the same thing. They're communicating in the same exact way.
So tell us about the new album then, that the single is a part of, because I actually haven't heard the album yet, but I've heard the single obviously. So
I actually just briefly. Sorry.
No, absolutely. Go ahead.
Just to add to the previous, the bass is kind of doing like a heartbeat thing.
Yeah.
Dum, dum, dum. It's doing like a syncopated, like it's almost like you can, without actually like putting it in your face, like with the drums, and it's a kind of like, it's like a human heartbeat in a way.
Yeah.
So I just sorry about the album.
Well, it's very fitting because again, Living in the Blood, it's that kind of
blood,
that organic organism.
Organism. Don't say evolving orgasm. Okay, that's not organism, definitely.
Well,
sorry. English is not my first language.
No,
it's okay. No, I mean, in a way, you are totally right, because without orgasm, there's no blood. There's no life. So yeah.
Well, preach on.
This is where
Hallelujah.
yes,
right.
this is where someone ends and someone's begins. And this is the and of course the blood and and the bones. But yeah, keep going. You had you had a question.
So he's asking you guys answer. He's asking about the record. He wants to hear some more about the album.
Yeah.
But yes, he did, and I think the Sally more can explain the concept of this rather than us, because
I mean, I think it's good. So Crisis to Crisis is the title, obviously. I think our again, it's really the media. When I'm saying Crisis to Crisis, I'm talking about the media. So back again, Aaron, how you're very perceptive and you're getting it, that that's what the whole album, everything, Dead Languages, again, it's the media, the way that it's speaking, the art of coincidence, all these weird things happening in the media that just, wow, this happened here, and then this happened here too. What a coincidence, so perfectly lined up. So yeah, so the whole album is a commentary how they locked us down. And when I say they, watch Living in Blood video, there's the day, how they locked us in, and then all we had to rely on was the media through these things, right? So it's just a reaction to that 100%. Every track on the record.
So that's so good.
Yeah, but actually, that even before the all these things happening, we've been living in this for years, for generations, basically from crisis to crisis, which every week or every second week you can hear that in the news something terrible happens. It can be the war or some kind of bad news, and news always give you the crisis and never say, hey, remember there was some kind of crisis, so we resolve it. They never say this.
Yeah.
So instead they resolve the problem or tell people that we resolve it, they created another problem to cover the old problem, and people already forgetting about old problem and focus on new problem, which was not going to be resolved. And so that's, we actually been living this, and we are living this. If you watch only from the media perspective.
I would continue this to say that I think it's a personal reflection of a human soul, as being constantly distracted. We're distracted by these things. We're we are right now, right? This is what we are. I mean, we're speaking, but there's we get angry. We distract ourselves from that being, from what we are originally. And I mean, in the name and all these songs, it just asks why. Crisis to why? Like, what the fuck? Also 3 letters. It just asks that question of like, why does it keep happening? Why on a certain level, why do we seek it out? Because we seek out, in a way, these negative things that we're kind of attach ourselves to them. We attach ourselves. We can't just exist. We kind of attach.
But I think, you're totally right. But speaking of for two of us, we already not attached. I mean, we look on this like something, like a white noise. But what to be considered that most of people are, they they actually planning their life. They judge the life based on whatever comes from the news, video, and stuff.
It's just it's a question about the human experience as we live it, and as we, the 4 of us right now live it, and other people, how we experience it, and that I think it's that question and the question and the answer that's in the same kind of same.
I think that's well said, because one of the tracks is called "World on Fire," and it says literally, "Why it's the world on fire?"
No, I mean, Sully, you gotta give credit to him. He's imagined a poet, and the lyrics always well put. Like there's no extra word, or they always melodic, and each word has a sense, and it's gives so much editing to the music, because when you listen with the sound effect which he produced and all these rhythms and music and the right lyrics, it's just right there. You don't need to even go to the music theater or whatever. You can listen it and you're already in the movie. You can play with it. It's like Rubik's Cube. You can do whatever you want.
We have like hundreds, if not, I don't know. I don't want to say thousands, but maybe we have hundreds of hours of jams that never went into songs. That we, just not because they're not worthy. It's because they weren't. When the jams that went into songs were just properly recorded.
Yeah.
The other ones were not properly recorded, so they never actually became songs. But the jams that became songs were just properly recorded. That's the only difference, really. We have hundreds of this whole universe. Every time, I mean, me going through like right now and trying, talking to you guys and us releasing this record, I went to like our old stuff and I'm hearing stuff that, I'm hearing sounds I didn't hear before. I went into even stuff before there's a whole B-side record that we made that we wrote that we never recorded. We played it live. It had a bunch of songs. Like I listened to all that stuff, and like you find every time you listen to it and these songs and I listened 100 times, you find something new. There's a new, like a universe. It's like 3D, which is really rare.
Mm-hmm.
In most music, something always emphasizes something else. So you're always, so you have one vocal and then you have like 5 other vocals that emphasize that one vocal. Here, like, I don't know what, like, I'm listening to this, like, I don't know what's emphasizing what, but it's like this 3D universe, 360 degrees with that's just, you can go here, at 90 degrees, or you can go over there and you'll find something new in it's like a world in itself. And that's what, I think that's what's cool about it, and what's cool about the way Sully does this and the way that we kind of play, to give credit to John, I mean, we're kind of instruments in this. Like we write our little part and we play it, but he really takes us and he puts us into a chord.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, like the three here we have the first, the third, and the fifth.
Yeah.
That's a great way of looking at it. Again, the chord, right?
Amen.
Triptych. There's your triptych.
Yeah, no, I mean it truly is. I mean, every time I listen to it, and I'm sure the guys can say the same, something different pops up.
Yeah.
A different sound, a different thought.
Yeah, you're never bored, like, and once the jam itself, it's at least 45 minutes. 45 minutes to so you need to.
I think we've had some that I don't think the medium could even hold. We kept going. Like, batteries, how many times batteries died?
Yeah.
Media just want, like little piece of it, just like little drop. Want to have ocean of music, and media just want to like perfect little drop. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're trying to be there everywhere. I mean, whenever it's music it doesn't matter. Mainstream, non-mainstream, as long people get it, what we're doing, and we get people, and then it's cool.
You were talking about the new album, so I really think I got a great concept of what this album's about. Then, when it came to Crisis to Crisis, then I mean, comparatively, you were talking about your previous record being almost improvisational, pretty much all improvisational. By comparison, it's just a lot more of a concept that you guys were kind of written about. So every time you're writing, you were like, okay, we're reaching towards this end goal, let's say.
Yeah, right. So we have 3 records, and all 3 records are doing that. The first album was, I discovered that, I can play a nice little editing trick here. And so we jammed and they didn't really think much of it. And then I sent it to them edited, and they're like,
that's true.
What the hell is this? We don't even know what this is. And they're like, where'd this come from? And then, but what we wanted, I composed it, but with all their playing.
Yeah.
And then we had the idea, let's go to our favorite recording studio and recreate this now as a composition. So look at the layers of conceptual continuity going on, right? And we did that, and that's our first record, which we're really proud of. We love it so much, and it's recorded live.
I'm trying. I can listen to the song. I'm trying.
Yeah.
This is, I think, the best thing I ever play on. I mean, this is the beat, the rhythm. This is the rhythm I was playing, kind of created. I was like, because it sounded kind of off, but I like it because it's not.
Yeah.
And Sully put it amazing riff on it, and it came out so good, so good. I can listen like for 2 days straight, one track.
But I'll finish the point. So let me finish the point, Igor.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
So we did that, and we put money into it. We self-produced it. It was we did it without a label because we wanted to. We wanted to see the whole thing through to the end. We didn't want anyone else involved in it, and we were really happy with it. And then the second record, we got the idea. What would be the opposite of that? And that was like literally just get a good quality recorder. I got like a little Zoom box. It was actually a Tascam. We always say Zoom, but it's like, I don't know if you know what these Zoom recorders are. They're stereo microphones that are on a digital, I guess, you can record it like 48K. So a high-end digital file it creates, and it's got, 2 condensed stereo mics on it. And that's it. We just put that in the room. I played around with it on a flat surface to get a little bit of reflection. So this way it sounded a little bit bigger than it really was because we were in a small studio. And that's the whole album. And then we looked at each other and we said, see you at the other end. And when we stopped playing, we stopped record, and that's the record. Though I did add a couple little things. I added some keyboards to fatten up the harmony a little bit, and I added some background vocals to fatten up the harmony, but everything else was recorded all improvised, so radically different from the first record. So when we went to the third one, that's why I said, what if I just lay everything down and then we add each track separately? So each record has a recording concept to it, different, but still the idea of a concept before going. Instead of a band, what do? Every album they get together, they work on some songs, they practice, they go in the studio, and they lay the drums down, they lay the bass down, they overdub everything, and that's what every band does. We have never done that. We never do that. We have never done it.
Yeah, we never done this.
Yeah.
And when we talked about capturing the moment, I mean, that's where all these albums really are. Starting from the first one, I listened to, like, right now, just recently, I've listened to the album and then the demo tracks that we made out of the improvised, the ones that and how cool and fresh that they both have their own pluses and how different that.
No, definitely.
I was just gonna, Ruslan said, I'm trying. I mean, if there was somebody that wanted to hire me as a bassist and they say, hey, show me what you can do, I'm like, I'm trying. That's the song I would send to them, probably.
Oh yeah, actually,
that's
this
maybe
one
of the best things on bass that I've ever played, or really made up, because that one I actually, John noticed it, but I actually kind of wrote it in the moment.
Yeah. But it's these albums are perfect because they are recording not just moment musically, but they're recording our moment of lives, that our period. That's why the album, we like these albums because they were so natural. They happen like what we've been dealing with, living with, and each of them, actually described our feelings or visions at that moment. It's really bad when you have a good song, but you don't record it in time, then song become bad. So that's which with us, it's happened so naturally. So it wasn't nothing late, and just like everything happened in the right moment, right place, in the right mood, with the right vision.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a great point, because listen, everything today is quantified with quantized with a computer. Everything is all lined up perfectly within tune. There's none of that going on this stuff. It's so far out of tuned, and it's just, and he's making a point, like, if we tried to put it into that grid like that, we would just kill it, you know. Yeah, that's another thing that I think makes it more like a jazz group in that way, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, just going back to, no, what was I gonna say? Shit.
Sorry.
It's fine. Something really smart. I mean, it's like the smartest thing I ever thought of.
Yeah.
It just came
All right.
and it left.
You know, like you should like a George living in the high note from Seinfeld. That's it.
Well, John, one thing I'd like to ask you is that Igor was sort of talking about when he's listening to the music that there's often these kind of flares and things he notices that he just never picked up on before. As someone who's kind of the one doing the editing and the production and the kind of post-production side of the music, do you often find that too yourself when you listen back? You're like, oh, I never really heard that, even when I was like working on it so extensively.
Yeah, so I love things like feedback. I love feedback. Not just pick up amplifier feedback, but like effect feedbacks. I love echoes and delays that feedback. I like when flange and phase feeds back. So that has a lot of that going on. I have a lot of pedals. I like, sometimes it's not even I'm playing this guitar. Everything is just a feed. So, and then I'm listening just like the listener is like, oh, wow, what is it doing now? You know? So yeah, there's a lot of that going on. If you, especially Living in Blood, if you really put the headphones on and there's feedback that's happening everywhere. I kind of designed my own kind of pedal board where my dry signal still cuts through. So if I'm playing along, my signal that's really giving you the harmonic structure is still cutting through, but behind it is this wall of noise that's just adding this weight and flavor. Like, you know, like I said, back to the air, right? Or the water or the humidity, whatever the feeling is that we want. A lot of that is coming from, you know, what you're picking up on, all this other stuff that I don't even really know what it is. And in a lot of ways, I can't really control it. It's just really praying to the gods that it's going to work out, you know? But I've been doing it a long time. I started right out of the box with Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix is the person who really, you know, I feel like woke me up to the universe. I could see the universe through listening to his music, and it's very similar. Like, you know, we're in New York. You know, a lot of the places, you know, we've been in a couple of rehearsal studios, but they all have something in common, is that they're, you know, there's tons of people on top of you, and they're really dirty, and it's slimy, and you're coming from the inside, you know, from the outside, which is just traffic and people everywhere. But when the three of us start to play, I feel like you know, all of a sudden the roof opens up and the stars are there and we can fly to other planets. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like. And then when we're done and we walk back out in the city, I always feel like I went somewhere, you know, it's like you know, like a mushroom trip or something. You know, we really travel, and you picked up on that. There's something that sounds like there's, you know, we're in a desert or somewhere, or on the high seas, you know, all these feelings that are part of it. And, a lot of that is coming from this atmospheric feedback that I'm creating. My day job is I'm a sound designer by day, you know, so a lot of that is expressed with the group, and I need Igor and Ruslan to really, you know, hold that down and give that the wheels to project that design forward.
I remembered what I was gonna say.
Go ahead.
That'll be a high note.
That's gonna be high note.
Yes, I definitely remember it. No, it's the high note. No, I was gonna say, you know, all these three albums, especially the first and the third, probably. But, you know, despite the fact that we have that old kind of an old school jam band type of thing going on, progressive jam band, there's a psychedelic aspect that's also coming from, you know, different. There's an you know, with what John does, there's an electronic aspect to it, electronic layers, and that makes it sound, you know, like techno almost sometimes, even though it's not. It's completely live.
Sound modern, let's say.
Well, I mean, I don't know if techno's still modern.
No, because otherwise...
You know, like Too Unlimited or something. Like Snap.
I do get what you're saying though.
There's a point, right? There's a point you're getting to, or
I'm getting to a point that
Okay.
there's a whole level of like electronic music that's
I
on
know.
top of this carcass of this jam band carcass, and that takes it to a whole different level. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I think that it's a good. I mean, I guess aesthetically, we would never be called a jam band, but I guess in some ways maybe, because most jam band, I think there is this bluegrass roots of the Grateful Dead that when we say jam band as a genre, remember back to you saying there's no genre here, that would be true. A lot of also there's when jam bands play, they're using a lot of the techniques of what bluegrass does when they improvise. Again, we're not doing that.
We're not doing this.
We are a jam band because that's where everything is being composed and coming from. And then especially where, again, I think what's great what Igor is saying, most electronica artists, they are using some kind of sequencer, so everything is put to the grid. We're not. So there is that electronic vibe that's there. We might be using oscillators like techno people are. We might be using saw waves and sine waves like techno artists are, but we're not putting it to a sequencer that's gridding it and laying it out that way. We're doing what a jam band would do with it.
Yeah.
Natural.
Yeah, natural, organic.
I think that's an interesting aspect too, because like I don't think people think of production or music mixing as actual integral to the actual. It's a weird relationship where people can understand that obviously the right production, the right mixing elevates music or kind of makes music something more than it could have been, but simultaneously they don't actually consider it part of, I guess, the songwriting aspect. But if you actually think about it, I mean, like you are kind of making that production mixing side an actual integral part of the actual rhythm of the song.
100%. That's why I said I'm a sound designer. Yeah. So really it's the same thing I would do for a film or a play or an installation. It's the sound design that allows the audience to move through the piece.
Yeah.
So you're right. I use it exactly like a drum. Exactly. And what makes Ruslan such a great percussionist is that he knows when, that's being taken care of. John's got that taken care of. Now I can go here and do this.
Yeah.
And to go back what Igor was saying, when we listen to some of these other older jams that, time has gone by and I listen, I'm like, I don't even know who's doing what. I don't even remember who's making what sound anymore because it's so coming from so many different places. Is that the guitar? Is that the drum? Is that we don't even remember what's making the sound anymore. We all become sound designers at the end of the day.
So we are sound of Venus.
Yeah.
Nice. I guess one of the final things I'll ask is simply how do you guys, because we're talking a lot about the production side of your music, but how do you think the live sound differentiates from the studio produced stuff?
Well, if I can answer the first record, we did nothing in the mix. All the effects were printed in the performance. That's the first album. Yeah. All of it. So there was no added effect in the mix down. It's all done. All the effects that you're hearing, the echoes, all that was all done in real time. Second record, there is no mix. It literally is what we recorded down there. So this record, Crisis to Crisis, the first one that probably has the most layer of mixed production over it than the other two records. Yeah. But we've gotten together. We got together once since the record, and we played. We got together once, and we played a little bit of the music. We played around with it a little bit, and it will be different. But it will be different. It depends. We're playing around with the idea that maybe if we go on stage for this record, maybe we'll add some friends. That's something we're thinking about, and maybe make it more like how the record is. Mm-hmm. Or we may play around, first experiment how we would do it as three people. So we can't answer that question yet. We're not 100% sure. But for the old records, we pretty much could reproduce them exactly how they sounded pretty much on stage. Yeah. Though with new improvisation, that's what would be different. But pretty much capture the tone. Right? Didn't we do a gig, gentlemen, remind me, where we literally went out of our way to see if we could play the exact thing on stage? What was that place that was in East Village that had the pyramid on the...
But
We
yeah.
literally did the record, right? We did the whole record.
Yeah.
I think
Was
we tried to do it several times, but I mean, it always comes out a little different.
It's always going to be different, of course, but I would say close enough that if people heard it, they would say yes. But
that was called, I want to say Fat Baby, but Fat Baby was the other
no, it
one.
wasn't Fat Baby. Not far from Fat Baby. But
no, it's I mean, she, I believe, right? In
It's
fourth.
not even around anymore.
It's gone now. But the new record may be different. We don't know because we haven't gotten together really yet since we only got together once.
Well, we got together a couple more times. We did that.
We did some acoustic versions.
Yeah, so we're gonna.
But it still doesn't matter. Anytime with three of us, we just give us anything. Just give us anything. You can give us like piece of plates and tubes. We're gonna make something with.
I mean,
so it's gonna be sounds good anyway.
And then the voice, it's always my voice, right? So, that sound is there. Yeah.
Always my scream.
His scream is always there.
There's a scream. I was listening to Time to Roll Up. What is it called? Time, right? I'm screaming in the background. Sorry, Aaron. Yeah. This is not even released. We're
getting the exclusive.
And now I know that Igor's scream, like I'll put it in as a composition to be replaced later because then I'll do my own version of it because I want him to put it in. I mean, that's how much I can't describe it, but it's like if the track is here, Igor somehow he just puts the scream in and it just goes. I don't know. It's magic. I don't know how to describe it, and it just fits in the mix in a way. I could never have my voice fit in the mix that way. He just goes right in. He's like 10 feet from the microphone.
That's true. That's sometimes I'm saying like he doesn't need a mic. Come on, don't give him mic. I can hear him without like through the mix with his guitars. And Sally is pretty loud in guitar. But even through the loud guitar, you can hear the screaming. But it's a screaming like I think it's an inspiration like James Brown screaming, funky stuff like this kind of screaming. Yeah, nothing orgasmic stuff. Don't worry about it.
James maybe disagree.
No, I mean in Mad Mag they turned down my mic too.
Oh really?
No, I mean he's the same guy.
The clocks didn't work out. You know why? They didn't let me scream.
Oh, that's a secret recipe.
Damn, I didn't know that. So, well, scream, please do.
Well, that's been perfect, guys. I mean, I really enjoyed this. I just want to ask, like, is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up? Maybe plug the date of the album.
Gentlemen.
Yes, Igor, please.
I didn't hear the last part of the question.
Maybe just
is
there anything you'd like to add? Just anything you have kind of coming up, and if you just want to give the date of the album.
Yes. So we're gonna have you've seen the Living in Blood. I think I sent you the other When Love Turns. We have a radically different video. It's a completely different song. That's coming out next Friday on Glassstone Records. And then Crisis to Crisis is coming out on June 9th, the Friday after that. We hope to start playing some gigs in the next couple of months, guys. And in the future, we talked about this a bunch, and we tried our acoustic chops. It kind of works. I would love to do an improvisational acoustic album. I don't know if we talked about it, but I think it would be a cool thing.
It's coming. I think it's coming, and I do think this. We play around with the songs on acoustic. Yeah. The songs we've already done that are all full of this electronic and production and improvisation, but they work just as on acoustic guitars and percussion and vocal. They work just fine.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, Sully is an amazing blues guitar player, by the way. So we never mentioned that. Besides the all this sound effect, but he's true soul blues man, and this is when combined together, which brings its space.
I never practice electric guitar or my pedal board. I only practice on acoustic folk style guitar. That's what I practice. And then it's not what I perform with. So something's weird there. I don't know what that is, but I don't know. I always want it to be a mystery. I never want to know what I'm doing. I just don't want to know what I'm doing. I want something mysterious to inform something else mysterious. That's how I always want it to be. Yeah.
Perfect.
So, yeah, that's totally true.
Perfect. Thank you for listening to that
Thanks very
episode
much for
of
your time, guys. I really appreciate it.
Postburnout.com interviews.
Cool, Aaron.
We hope you enjoyed.
Thank you.
Stay
Thank
tuned
you.
for more.
And